The iPhone 17 Pro is a big jump in video quality in 3 of the most needed areas from the iPhone 16 and 15, making it easily the best iPhone ever for filmmaking. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the 17 Pro from the perspective of a filmmaker that uses their iPhone to record videos for personal and professional work, and I'm going to share with you all the video-centric upgrades Apple has made to it and whether it is worth you upgrading. Also, for the sake of ethics, I want you to know this video is not paid or sponsored by Apple. I bought this iPhone with my own money, but this video is brought to you by my color presets that work fantastically with Apple log footage, giving you vibrant and true-to-life colors that you will love. I highly recommend checking them out at the link in the video description. Now, let's tackle the biggest and most surprising update to the iPhone 17 Pro, because this upgrade is going to trickle down and affect all of the other video capabilities of its cameras as well, and that is the very exciting addition of ProRes RAW video recording to both the 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. Ever since the iPhone 13, the camera has been capable of recording ProRes, but the iPhone 15 added Apple log recording, and now, finally, we are seeing ProRes RAW support. Up until last year, you could really only record ProRes RAW to supported cameras with an external monitor, mostly due to Red, the cinema camera company, having a patent on internal RAW recording, something that Apple sued them for and actually lost several years ago. Thankfully, Nikon acquired Red in 2024, and soon after, it looked like they wouldn't be quite as lawsuit happy, with more and more cameras starting to support internal RAW recording, including now the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. Even though technically these iPhones can't record ProRes RAW internally, nope, they're limited to external recording to SSD, but that isn't entirely surprising, considering that RAW videos are truly massive files. And while you may think you're prepared for it if you're coming from an iPhone 13 through 16 Pro that supports ProRes RAW HQ video, that codec has nothing on ProRes RAW HQ. The file sizes are just staggering. Suddenly it makes sense why Apple is limiting you to recording to an external SSD, but I still wish that it was possible to record ProRes RAW internally. Side note, by the way, at least in the Blackmagic camera app, while it says it is recording ProRes RAW in 4K, it is actually in the 17:9 aspect ratio at 4224 by 2240, so a bit larger than the 16:9 Ultra HD you may be used to with the iPhone. In addition, and here's where we start to get into the quirks of this feature, ProRes RAW maxes out at a maximum of 120 FPS in 4K with the main camera, and 60 frames per second with the ultra-wide and telephoto cameras, and you also cannot use the selfie camera or any of the digital crop lenses when recording in ProRes RAW either. You are limited to the 13mm, 24mm, and 100mm lenses on back of the phone, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing because it helps you keep the maximum quality of the camera. But that said, what is a bad thing is that filming in ProRes RAW disables IBIS with all of the phone's cameras, meaning you'll definitely want to look into filming with a tripod or a gimbal unless you want a lot of micro shakes in your footage. These are interesting quirks, but not surprising for this phone. In my experience with other cameras that record in ProRes RAW, many of them have oddly specific resolutions, frame rates, and aspect ratios that ProRes RAW supports. Just keep these limitations in mind, and we can hope that Apple either releases firmware updates or improves ProRes RAW recording further when the iPhone 18 is released. In addition, I will link in the video description to the external SSDs that I recommend, as well as a MagSafe adapter that you can use with them to record ProRes RAW video with your iPhone. Now, as far as the quality of ProRes RAW goes, here's where things get even more interesting, because when Apple announced the iPhone 17 Pro, they also announced that they were updating their Final Cut camera app to version 2.0, which adds features like open gate recording and a new version of log called Apple Log 2. Apple says this version of log has been improved with a wider color space, and interestingly, while the Final Cut camera app update was not available on launch day, the Blackmagic camera app was updated with support for both open gate and Apple Log 2. We'll talk about OpenGate in a bit, but in regards to Apple Log 2, I want you to know that this flavor of log is only available on the iPhone 17 Pro, not any earlier iPhones. Back to general image quality now. With the main 48 megapixel camera on the phone, this is the same sensor from the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro, and Petapixel confirmed with Apple engineers that it has the same exact lens coatings as well, which means that this phone unfortunately has the same annoying issue of small lens flares when filming in darker environments or filming directly into the sun, which is quite noticeable. Please fix this with the iPhone 18, Apple. I will appreciate you forever. Otherwise, though, video image quality was already excellent on the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro due to less over-sharpening if you filmed in Apple Log. So it isn't surprising that it's great on the iPhone 17 Pro as well. But more importantly, while the addition of ProRes RAW on the 17 Pro doesn't necessarily add more dynamic range, it does make getting the maximum dynamic range from the sensor easier because it gives you so much more control over your footage while editing. You can adjust the image more, and it's especially going to be helpful if you're mixing your iPhone footage with footage from another camera like a Sony FX3, Nikon ZR, etc. That said, it isn't all gravy with ProRes RAW. I do really want to see Adobe and Blackmagic add more RAW controls to their software because ProRes RAW support feels a little bare bones in both of these programs right now. And whenever you look at the amount of control you have whenever you're editing Red Code RAW or even Nikon RAW, you have dramatically more control over those settings, and that could really be boosted with ProRes RAW as well. All that said though, even a few years ago, the iPhone having video features like this really is wild. Concerts and sporting events, etc. have had all these rules about people not being able to bring cameras with removable lenses because they're considered professional cameras. You have to have a media pass for that. Want to film in a museum or art gallery? Sorry, big cameras are banned. I've been confronted so many times when I'm filming something in public with even my relatively compact Sony a7S III. But suddenly, in the span of only 2 years, the iPhones in our pocket are suddenly capable of recording log video in ProRes RAW? This is a massive shift. Apple already films all of their events with the iPhone to show off what it is capable of, and more movies and shows are being filmed with the iPhone. I talk about filmmaking with these phones, and I get so many people telling me why it isn't possible, but it's already happening. I don't ever think that these phones are going to replace larger cinema cameras, but if you are a self-employed run-and-gun filmmaker like me, these phones keep getting more and more capable every year, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just giving us an easier and faster way to create videos. Next, and turning your attention to the front of the phone. Now, I'm happy to tell you that Apple took a page from Samsung's book and upgraded the anti-reflective coating on the front of the phone, which makes it noticeably easier to look at by reducing bright reflections, especially in sunlight. If I hold up the iPhone 16 Pro on the left next to the iPhone 17 Pro on the right, notice how the reflections look darker on the 17 Pro. That is actually the reduction of some of the reflections, and especially if you're filming outdoors on a bright and sunny day, this is a great improvement, and I really hope that Apple continues to improve the anti-reflective coating on their future iPhones. But let's get to the second upgrade now, and that is the selfie camera. Aside from some minor autofocus updates in the iPhone 14 and 15, the iPhone has been using the same sensor since the iPhone 11, way back in 2019. So you could say that this front camera has been due for an upgrade, and this is a big one. The sensor has been upgraded from 12 megapixels to 18, but more importantly, the sensor is also square-shaped instead of the more traditional rectangle shape of most camera sensors. This enables the selfie camera to be able to record vertical or horizontal video without you needing to rotate the camera, which, considering how often we hold our phones vertically, this makes a lot of sense. And I, as someone who still loves and prefers filming horizontally, think this is a great thing. It was really a bit surreal holding my phone vertically and having the camera switch from vertical to horizontal mode. I'm not used to cameras being able to do that, and it's really impressive. More importantly, from an overall video quality standpoint, the front camera has been improved as well. With the iPhone 16 and earlier, while the video quality was decent, I always tried to use the back camera to film myself when possible, which also made it impossible to see myself talking unless I had a wireless monitor big rig setup. Now, the selfie camera looks better than ever before, and I feel better about using it to film myself. And as an added bonus, because the sensor is larger, Apple was able to improve the video stabilization as well, making the footage that you film with it look much better, especially if you're walking and filming yourself with the iPhone. In addition to the upgraded selfie camera, Apple has also unlocked a new software feature that I think is really cool but could be improved, and that is the ability for you to record with the front and back camera at the same time using a dual capture mode. But the example they showed was filming yourself reacting to something as it happened. And while I think that it's useful, especially for things like Instagram Reels, I love the thought of filming something like a product review YouTube video and being able to record not only myself, but also the product that I'm holding as I use it. This could be really cool and useful for filming B-roll. But here's where it needs improvement. Recording it this way will literally burn the angle of you reacting into the footage. Unlike Samsung, who allows you to record two angles as two separate video files at the same time, Apple is just recording one video file with two feeds on it. Like I said, this is useful for some videos, but I would ideally love a Pro mode, which records two separate videos so we could cut between them in editing software. Now, back to this square front sensor for a second. You know what else a square sensor is good for? Filming open gate video, because you can record footage that will work for both horizontal and vertical video at the same time and just crop it in post. But hold on, is that possible with the front camera? If you take a photo, it is in the open gate aspect ratio that's much taller, but if you turn it to video, it will crop the video to 16:9. So at least with the stock camera, it doesn't seem to be possible. There is a cool workaround that I learned from Patrick Tomaso, where if you have your phone in photo mode and then you swipe right on the button that you use to take a photo, this will start your phone recording wider, but you don't get access to Apple Log or ProRes, etc. with this workaround. Keeping this talk about OpenGate going, I'm happy to tell you that it is possible to film in OpenGate using the back camera in the soon-to-be-released Final Cut Camera app, and in addition, OpenGate recording is available right now in the Blackmagic Camera app, and here's a secret, it works on the iPhone 16 Pro as well. As for the OpenGate resolution the iPhone 17 Pro records at, Apple said that it was just above 4K, but I'm happy to tell you that I've tested it and it's 4032 by 3024 resolution, which is in the 4:3 aspect ratio. Now, the OpenGate feature works well, but it has two quirks that you should know about. Namely, the iPhone disables the image stabilization when you use this feature, because usually your phone is relying on having those extra pixels that aren't recording for digital stabilization, but now they are being used to record, so the phone is going to show you every single shake. You're going to want to either mount your phone to a tripod or apply stabilization in your editing software to get around this issue. Next, and arguably worse, the Blackmagic Camera app strangely does not let you record in OpenGate in Apple Log. In H.265, if you want to record OpenGate, you'll have to either use ProRes RAW or the Rec 709 color space, which doesn't give you nearly as much control over the image and is annoying, and I'm really hoping that this is improved in a future firmware update. Moving around to the back of the phone now, we got to talk about the third big video upgrade that Apple made to the iPhone 17 Pro, and that is the much improved telephoto camera. The main camera and ultra wide are unchanged, but that's okay because the telephoto was far and beyond the lowest quality camera, and I'm so glad that it's been updated. Apple has increased the megapixels from 12 all the way up to 48, and more importantly, they made the sensor itself 56% larger, which helps significantly with my biggest complaint from the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro, the rather lackluster performance in low light. With those cameras, unless you were filming outdoors in direct sunlight, you were going to get noise with the telephoto camera. But I'm happy to tell you that the 17 Pro is significantly improved with much less noise in lower light conditions when filming zoomed in. In addition, the zoom range has been tweaked as well, with the telephoto camera going from a 5x zoom, which is approximately a 120mm focal length equivalent, to a 4x zoom or 100mm equivalent. But because the telephoto sensor is now 48 megapixels, just like how the main camera will let you digitally crop in 2x, the telephoto camera supports that as well, going up to an 8x zoom, which is a 200 millimeter focal length. Personally, I would always recommend sticking with the optical zoom levels of each camera and not using the digital zoom if possible for the highest quality video. And I have to say, after having the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro Max with the 5x telephoto zoom, I always felt like it was slightly too tight. It was sort of an awkward focal length. But with the 4x zoom, while it isn't quite as zoomed in, I find that I'm already using it more often and it feels more versatile. Now, do you want to hear about some bonus upgrades that Apple added to the 17 Pro? We've covered the big three, but there are some other smaller ones that I know that some filmmakers will really care about, so stick with me. Up first, you have vapor chamber cooling, which, when paired with the new aluminum body of the iPhone, really helps dissipate heat significantly faster, which is really important whenever you're filming with your iPhone, because if you've ever tried to film for an extended period outside on a very hot summer day, like I have many times, you will undoubtedly run into your phone starting to overheat, causing the display to dim dramatically darker, which can make it really hard to see it on a bright and sunny day. In my testing recording a lot of outdoor videos with this phone at higher temperatures, because I'm in Texas and it gets very hot here, while the phone itself would get hot, I was never able to make the screen dim like it would on my iPhone 16 Pro. You can let me know in the comments though if you'd like me to do an official overheating test with both of these phones, because that could be really fascinating to watch. As a plus two, the iPhone 17 Pro screen now goes up to 3000 nits of brightness, up from 2000 on the 16 Pro. Mathematically, this is 1.5 times brighter, and we see, whoa, 3000 is a lot more than 2000, but considering that our human eyes don't see brightness linearly, that is harder to quantify. You will notice that the iPhone 17 screen looks a bit brighter at max brightness, but if we're talking in photography and videography lens terms, it's about a half a stop brighter from the 16 Pro, or like going from an f2.8 lens to an f2.5. It's not a massive jump if you're holding both phones next to each other, but I will say that when you combine the extra anti-reflective coating on the screen with the brightness improvement, it is a noticeable jump that I think you will appreciate when using your phone outdoors. Next, you have Gen Lock, which is a pretty darn niche capability, but very cool to see on the phone. Gen Lock is essentially a way for you to synchronize your camera's recording at a frame level. So if you're recording a video with multiple iPhones and you want to have them all record the exact same video at the exact same time so you can cut between them on the identical frame that they were recording at, you can now do that with this Gen Lock feature. Gen Lock is a highly specialized tool, commonly used in either bullet time effects, which I know rigs like that were used in the new 28 Years Later movie that was filmed on iPhone, but Gen Lock is also used in video walls and other kinds of videos where you have multiple screens all showing parts of the same video, and they need to be perfectly synced down to the frame. You can let me know in the comments if you want a more in-depth tutorial about Gen Lock. Cool, Matt. Okay, Gen Lock looks pretty neat, but overkill for what I'm filming. You know what would be cool though? Time code. Yes, if you want to sync up all of your iPhones that you're using to record, but you don't want to stress about frame perfect accuracy like you would get with Gen Lock, you can also use time code. Now, how do you make Gen Lock and timecode work with your iPhone? Here comes Blackmagic again to the rescue with an accessory they're calling the Blackmagic Camera Pro Dock that you can connect to your phone and add features like external HDMI monitoring, microphone inputs, headphone outputs, USB-C outputs for SSDs, Gen Lock and timecode ports, and power inputs. It's pretty darn awesome, but it's also not available quite yet. So once it is, I will definitely get one and be making a video showing you how to use it. And those are the three biggest video upgrades that Apple made to the iPhone 17 Pro, plus some big bonuses. I want you to know that I'm working on multiple tutorials for this phone, showing you how to get the absolute best video quality from it, including how to use ProRes RAW, Apple Log 2, the Final Cut camera, and Blackmagic camera apps, this new Blackmagic Camera Pro Dock, etc. All of these videos are coming, and I would love if you would consider subscribing so you can see them. I'll also link below to my Filmmaker gear guide. It's completely free for you to download, as well as my color presets, which work fantastically with iPhone footage, and I've used them to color grade all of the footage in this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you loved it, and have a great day.